Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Indie Game Movement, the podcast that talks about the marketing and business of indie games. I'm Andrew Pappas. I'm going to be your host today, and we're going to be talking about scaling the next generation of game studios. You know, the intersection of imagination and machine intelligence is giving rise to a new kind of game design, one where players and AI co create experiences together. But with this innovation comes some new challenges: ethical design, scaling responsibly, and keeping the human spirit of storytelling alive. So, in this episode, we're going to discuss what's next for AI in gaming and how indie studios can innovate sustainably while staying creative. So, that's exactly what we're going to be talking about right here today on Indie Game Movement. Hey everyone, and we're back. And today with us, I have Oded Bendov. Oded, how's it going? And thank you so much for being here today.
It's going great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited for this talk.
Yeah, I am too, because it's a big one. It's a big thing that people are talking about, thinking about, and everything else. But before we get into that and more, folks, Oded here is the founder and CEO of Digital Dynasty Entertainment, the creators of AI Game Master. And before I go any more into that, Oded, I would love for you to share what is AI Game Master, and kind of a little bit about your role and what Digital Dynasty Entertainment does and what their focus is.
Of course. So AI Game Master is a generative AI adventure game. It takes from the worlds of D&D and sort of like those choose your own adventure books. So it spins up an adventure for you, and then you tell it what you want to do, and it goes along with every action you choose. There's obviously generated images to go along with the story. There's everything's being narrated out loud. So it's really an immersive adventure that's just uniquely generated for you. With time, we even added 3D generated objects you can collect from the story, and there's a bunch more we can go into later. Digital Dynasty Entertainment is the company behind the game. It's not my first company. I sold some companies. One company I didn't sell but made a huge dent, helped people with special needs. It was running for 10 years. And we literally saved tens of thousands of people. And somehow I found myself now doing games. I like changing things up, I guess.
Awesome. And that's really cool too about one, just obviously the part about, helping people with special needs and things like that, but also the coming from like a space where, owning multiple businesses and stuff. So it's like really having that, business entrepreneurial like background mindset and things like that, which is always good to hear, because I think sometimes, or a lot of times actually, those skill sets are really helpful and absolutely necessary to run a studio and these types of things, especially with, we're in entertainment. So
Right, 100%. I think a lot of my experience and lessons learned were brought into this game, even though my background wasn't in games necessarily.
oh yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of things we can take from our past and apply it to what we're doing now. And in this case, folks, it's usually relating to games. So
Right.
awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that and stuff. And I know we're gonna get a lot more into kind of like that and everything based off of our topic. But before we do, you said it yourself. You have like other businesses. You've had other businesses. You always have a lot going on. Essentially, when you do have some downtime, what kind of things do you like to do to unplug?
So recently I moved out to Washington State, which is beautiful, and I just love the scenery. And honestly, I'm taking a lot of just breathing in the air and the trees. That's on the psyche side. My family fills me up, and then on the pastime, I have my casual game. Right now, it's hill climb, Lego hill climb. It's not something I'm necessarily proud of, but it's what I do. And recently, I finished Thimbleweed Park. If anybody here
Oh
knows
yeah.
it, it's a shout out to like the old point and click adventures. Really, really great job. Sort of a remake. It came out 5 or 10 years ago, even I don't remember, but it's really, really good. Yeah, so putting it
Yeah,
out
no,
there.
I think I remember that when it came out, and they were like kind of showcasing it at a PAX a while
Yeah,
ago. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. It was
PAX.
Kickstarter, and yeah,
Yeah. That's
Uh,
cool.
yeah.
I do remember that pretty well, actually. So nice.
No.
Well, thanks for sharing that. But we do want to get to know you a little bit more. And folks, how we do that here on the show is we have our guest go through the Q box round. It's just a few random questions I prepared here today for Oded. So, Oded, are you ready for the Q box round?
I am ready. Let's do it.
All right. Name one thing that motivates you every day.
Honestly, the reviews coming into the game, we just add genuine delight to users, to players' lives, and that's something to take with you. I mean, honestly, and they keep coming in every day, every day. It's like awesome. Yeah, we'll keep doing that.
Yeah, I could totally see how like that type of stuff is really motivating and stuff. And I mean, yeah, even in general, it's like reviews, and even if it's like sometimes maybe it's not the best thing ever, it's just like, well, at least I'm getting a direction, at least I'm getting this feedback and everything else. There's you take the good and the bad, and it sounds like you're just like putting those. Thankfully, it sounds like it's majority, positive and everything. But you take that and just use that to fuel to keep you going. So love hearing
Yes,
that.
yes. You take the bad to improve the product, and you take the good to keep running forward.
Yeah,
That's
love it.
how I see it.
Great line right there. Next question here is: what advice would you give to someone else that's just starting out?
So this is a big one with me, and it's launch fast. It's called MVP in the entrepreneurial space. It's like build the smallest thing you can that validates players like your game, and then worry about all the other stuff. I hear people doing GDPR at day one, and it's like, why are you doing anything besides delighting your users, making sure somebody is interested in putting a dime in your game, and from there on, take care of all the things around. But really start validating your game as soon as possible. I think that's number one with me.
Yeah, love it. Really great point because we can get so caught up in the details that we never end up really doing anything in the grand scheme of things,
Yeah,
even though it feels like
yeah,
we are. So,
yeah.
all right, and I think you already jumped the gun on this one, but okay. But what game are you playing now, or is there another one else that's maybe in your pipeline that you could share with us?
Right. So I'm playing Hill Climb more than I'd like to admit. Before that, a lot of quests like there was Monument Valley, like the riddle ones, and
Oh yeah.
yeah, and there was a cut and play or something. I don't do it justice, but there was a point and click adventure that was highly praised on the App Store, and it was really great. It went by without like vocals, but they had the characters all speak this gibberish language, and it really,
Oh, okay.
really was well made.
So
Really,
it
really
wasn't
well
oxen
made.
free,
No.
because I remember that one. But no, that's cool. So do you generally like point and click games?
Yes,
Okay.
I think I was born on the old Sierra games, King
Okay. Yep.
Quest, Leisure Suit Larry, and all the LucasArts like Monkey Island
Yep.
and Manic Mansion. And I think I actually built a part of my problem-solving skills until today. Like I still
Wow.
would pick up random things and just store them because they may end up helping me later in my life, you know.
Well,
I'll
maybe.
wrap a tape around a whatever coconut and it'll help me stop
Yeah.
a car, whatever.
Well, maybe after the call we can trade some or whatever because I find myself really liking those a lot too. In particular, the Last Door is a
Yeah,
very very atmospheric and
yeah,
fun one.
yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
cool.
It rings a distant bell. I need to pull it up, but I think I've spent time on it.
Yeah, sweet. Well, appreciate you sharing more about yourself. But now, folks, let's get into our conversation for today, which is scaling the next generation of game studios. So to kick things off, in when it comes to AI, we know that like many creators kind of see that as a potential collaborator or a form of collaboration, a collaboration tool, let's call it, right? But
Hmm.
then we have others that totally see this as a threat to originality. And there's,
Hmm.
some real legitimate concerns about this too. And
Hmm.
just out of curiosity, like where do you personally like draw the line between that aid and assistance and authorship?
So I think we're seeing so AI Game Masters caters tens of thousands of players every month. They're all caught up in their own imaginative adventures, and I think we serve as a collaborator, sort of as a positive echo chamber. The AI follows you, but it's very turn-based, so it wouldn't go far enough without your input. And that what makes it unique and interesting. Because if you just let GPT or whatever, run without input, it gets boring really soon, really fast. Sorry, it might create a great story, but then like the 10th time over, you realize it's doing the same. But when you inject a human into the process, and every step is like it's throwing a ball between human and AI, you create this guided imagination world that you're still in control of, that you still injected a lot of your own input and soul into. And yes, and the AI helped augment that and made it grand, and and you got an image of your thing and you got a video of whatever you just did. And so definitely on the collaboration side, I do understand people's concerns. On that front, there's a lot of things I just consider like some of the progress is not going to stop, so I'm trying to embrace it. Like there may be concerns, but it's not going to stop, so we need to learn how to work with it. It's how I see things.
Yeah, and it's a interesting point because it's like I see lots of different perspectives of it too, and everybody has their own right and way about it, but I think that's like it's funny. And in some ways I kind of compare this whole movement to like cell phones of all things, because if you look at it like in terms of like the production of lithium batteries and such, but yet where there's lots of initiatives to put for electric cars and technology and all sorts of things, and it's a tough one. And there's even when you're looking at these new techs and everything else and the impact that they have and in communities and the environment and everything else. My hope is that with those, at least me personally, is with those tools and resources, we can still lead with the right intents, providing positive experiences while also having these tools to help us maybe have lessen those impacts that we think of them as negative. So therefore, kind of finding ways to make things balance in a way. And it sounds like you're doing what you can as it relates to the types of experiences that you're creating for people and everything else like that. Well, thank you. Oh, go ahead.
No, 100%. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. So, well, appreciate you, sharing your input about that, because I know it definitely is an important thing for a lot of people. Well, now I want to kind of go into, discussing how like, you know, because yeah, you guys are using this AI as a tool, like we said, a collaborative tool to provide these types of experiences for people. So I'm curious, like, would you say are some of those most surprising ways that AI has enhanced creativity for whether it was you or your team, especially in generating this narrative content?
hmm Great question. I think the first surprise, like I recall, was coding. So it's like AI in the coding, like a Copilot or Codex or Claude or whatever it is, Cursor. I was like, we have some like during the story, certain elements can appear. Like your character can get hit, or you can hit an enemy, and we like signify that differently, right? Or you find an item. And I was like writing the code of like, okay, enemy hit, character hit, and then the AI does this autocomplete of 20 more like possible tokens. And it's like I was just thinking of like starting with four, those are the ones I mentioned. And I go over the 20, it's like, these are pretty good. He's like, take item and find quest and complete thing. It's like, I'm keeping these for later time. So it was almost like AI was directing me what to develop or like suggesting, hey, we could have this item or this would be cool. It's like, I didn't even plan on it when I was writing the code. And it's just spat it out there. It's like, okay, I'll take it. I'll take part of it definitely. So that was the first thing. Another great thing we noticed when we started doing translation. So the game is available in English, obviously, in German, in French, in Spanish, in Russian and Japanese and Hebrew. And I think the first one was Russian. And what we noticed is that the images coming out started appearing to have like Russian folklore, just because the input coming into the image model was Russian now and not English. The images produced looked more Russian, I guess, like Russian classic books. That was very surprising for us. It's not something we developed in. We just gave it the Russian language, and out came like everything looked Russian, including the images and the sound. So that was surprising.
Interesting. So in this too, like it's from these suggestions. I mean, on the code side, That sounds pretty interesting because it's like, it's kind of helping maybe push you a little bit. And even if it's like that list of, 20 things wasn't necessarily everything that you were looking for, you're like, oh, wait, but I could maybe see how it could work in this case. Or, it really gives you a good starting point essentially from, or you had that starting point and it's now kind of pointing you in different directions and where this
Yeah.
could be. In light of that though, like, is there anything you do to kind of like either pace yourself or other team members in terms of like, not getting blown out of scope with all these great ideas it's presenting?
Right. So for a long time, I was the only developer. So we're a super tiny team. We skipped that, but I was the developer, and a friend is the takes care of the community and markets the game. We're now expanding due to the success of the game. But for a long time, we were just the two of us. So it was just me, and I had the discipline to say, all these are good ideas. I'm gonna like comment them out. I'm gonna keep them here, but not gonna focus on them right now. And still, if you go throughout the code, you'll see places that the AI suggested this could be nice, and like we saved it for a later occasion. Um, but yeah, it's a lot of discipline. Again, I was talking about focus. I think a lot of what helped us traject forward and get to where we are is just focus on what matters right now, not veer off in different directions and waste precious time.
Yeah. Well, one of the things you mentioned too that was a surprise is like, for example, localization, different languages, and in Russia or Russian, you started seeing like the imagery kind of support folklore of that time and too, and I'm just curious about that too. In terms of like how would you like go about balancing that automation with authorship because you know I guess essentially making sure that like AI supports like these types of this creation the creation of this experience rather than let's say replaces some of that human imagination aspect of it and stuff because between not just the narrative but the art that's coming up how are we is there some type of balance going on to be mindful of what this experience is doing or how it's creating this experience for others.
So we have in the adventure, we started off with like four different themed adventures, fantasy, cyberpunk, sci-fi, and horror. Those, according to Google, back at the time we were still searching in Google, those are popular themes. And then with time we added like custom adventures. And with custom adventures, you can lay out the world settings and the story settings and even give it like the visual guidance. And these are all prompts that we inject in the right places when we send it out to the AI to make sure they have effect. So in custom adventures, you can really steer like even the visuals of the adventure. Yeah, so that we have that. And aside from that, it's a lot of prompt engineering. I feel prompt engineering sort of has a good, bad reputation. I don't know, but a lot of it is working with the machine to get out what you want, because eventually we're still the human developer. We're the one that understand human delight. It's up to us to make the players happy, and we instruct the AI what it can and can't do to make sure that happens.
Okay. Now, in light of that too, I mean, so it sounds like there's definitely some, prompt engineering going on and everything else. Is there anything that's like somewhat done too, in, let's say on the art side in terms of like, how it's generating that art for people and everything else? Yes, there's input from the user and stuff, but in terms like, are there any potential limitations or not when it comes to creating that visual experience for these players?
Our constraints with the visual elements initially were cost. They were one of the pricier models, but ever since then, there have been a slew of models at very affordable prices. We take like we try adding to the prompt that is sent to the image generation engine. So like if you're playing fantasy, we try to tailor it a bit towards fantasy, or if it's a custom adventure, whatever the user put in. But eventually, we're sort of a one-time experience because this is an online, like not online, but a real-time adventure you're playing. It's not like the image generated goes to someone who vets it. Is it good or bad? We sort of like have to live with whatever is spat out. We give players and we hope it's good. And by hope, I mean track analytics and make sure players are happy and ratings are up and like there are cues you can collect to see if players are happy with what's coming out, but not necessarily at the individual point.
Okay. So so it's just kind of monitoring, activity and even analytics essentially to see if there's any indication of anything else going on.
And talking to players, sorry, and a lot of
Oh
talking
yeah,
to
yeah.
players. You can never do that enough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's definitely big. I mean, that in terms of that feedback being invaluable. I was curious too. I mean, are there ever any misconceptions about, let's say, AI driven game design that you might like to clear up for other indie developers on that side? Because again, I know this for some people, this is like really, really a hot topic.
hmm Of course, yeah. So I get this a lot, even from a lot of good friends. They sort of like ask what I do. If it's an AI game and AI does AI, why am I there? And it's funny because I'm like one of the top paid developers you could get probably, and a lot of hard work goes in. But so I'd like to say that making sure AI seems flawless is like any other product is a lot of hard work around, and making sure it does what it should be, and making sure you have all your like the user experience, you're happy, you're delighted, you know exactly where to go at each turn of the game. Um, so I think there is a lot of hard work harnessing AI, and people don't necessarily understand that. Like a lot of people say, well, I tell GPT to play an adventure for me, so I have it. I have your game. It's like, okay, that's awesome, and you're welcome to do that and like play a text adventure at GPT to produce an experience beyond just textual, etc., with turns, with characters, with interactions between the characters, etc. There's more development going or needed to support that. So that's one misconception, and I think the other, I wouldn't call it a misconception, but when we just started out, we came out to Reddit and we said, hey, we developed this game, we think it's cool, and we got so much hate back. It was my partner at the time. He was marketing, so I sent him, like, go out to Reddit. We're bootstrapped. We have no